Welcome to the Legged Podcast. As you all know by now, the Legged Podcast is powered by Monterex. Make sure you head over to monterex.com and take advantage of the 15% off they offer if you type in Legged at checkout. Monterex have been the main sponsor of the podcast for a while now, and their gear is a belter. So head over to the website now and take full advantage of the Legged promo code. So before this episode starts, if you do enjoy the Legged Podcast and you do want to support us for just £1 a week, you can on Patreon. And with doing so, you get early access to all our episodes and an extra weekly episode of me and Jordan just chewing the fat. Thanks for the support. Nice one. What's happening, everyone? It's the Legged Sportscast. It's me, Andy Grant.
It's me, Jordan Neal.
This one is with a twist. I'm obviously gallivanting over in Punchestown. So we did get a few offers in from Jazza threw his name in the hat. We had talk of Darren Farley, but appreciate you, Jordan. Appreciate the support. You were lad. We need to get on the back.
I mean, to be honest, I'd love to say it was support from you, but because of like you're away, I now have commitments, which meant I couldn't quite get into Liverpool town. So I thought, right, rather than putting it on me, I'll just say, just go on and miss Andy, so I need to keep him on.
I thought you were backing me there. That's so funny.
How's Ireland?
Yeah, it's belter. Really good, mate. I got here last night. Me with my mates, Ian. He's kind of jacked this little trip for us and a couple of his mates. Staying in a Boss hotel. It's belter. It's where all the Ireland team, the international team stay. Boss, about 40 minutes from Punchestown. So yeah, we're recording this on Thursday morning, and I'm going to be getting picked up at 12. The mad thing is with Punchestown, the first race is 20-4.
Mm-hmm. I think the last one's like 7:45, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be fucking. I will not be seeing any 20-8. Like
nah.
That. But
you'll be back to yours for a bath.
I know. Yeah, for anyone who didn't listen on our Patreon episode this week, Jordan confesses that he loves a nice 2-hour-long bath on a Sunday.
Tell you what, that's no confession. That I'm proud of it.
I on the other hand never have a bath, but the hotel I'm staying in has got a bath. So Jordan said that as soon as I stop recording, I should go and treat myself to a nice bath.
It'll change your life.
Yeah, maybe. Big shout out again anyway to our sponsors Monterex, and they are actually celebrating a year kind of open, if you like. So you can take advantage of the sponsors by typing in the promo code, which is Legged20, for 20% off there. And just leg it from Monterex, 15% off. And also Health Kit Kitchen, don't forget them. If you want any scran, the link is in the bio. Where do you want to kick off, George?
I don't know, that's been some week, hasn't it? Fiore, White, Nick Ball stole the show.
They may be talking that, mate, because you stole the show with your predictions, mate. I'm beginning to, I'm a little bit scared, obviously. Jordan Neal's stock is rising, all thanks to me, Michael Edwards, who plucked you from obscurity, brought you to the forefront of the podcast scene in Liverpool, and now you're making some pretty bold predictions, and you're getting noticed, lad. People are starting to take note of Jordan Neal, so I'm just a bit worried that I'm a bit like Jurgen Klopp. What I've done is I've took a kind of Sadio Mane from Southampton, who was, he was a bit of a rough diamond, and look at you now. I'm a bit worried you might get poached. Do you know what I mean?
You are.
It's true, lad.
Do you know when you say about Liverpool? Why would you leave Liverpool? Because you're only going to go down.
Oh, I appreciate that. There you go.
There's no other place for me. So what I'm going to do is just keep the tips coming to the Legged Sportcast to Patreon, and they're staying there.
Good. Well, mate, talk about it more, because as you said, mate, boxing's best kept secret, and you wasn't lying.
No, he was. I mean, to be honest. Obviously they were underestimating Nick Ball because they didn't even put his ring walk on TV. They only done Isaac Lowe's, and then Nick Ball was already in the ring. But I think from the opening 30 seconds, I thought this is going exactly as I planned, because I think what people underestimate with Nick is you look at him at the weigh and you think, oh, he's small, or like I can bully him. But you quickly realise is that he's got a seriously nasty streak. Like, he is nasty, do you know what I mean, when he's in there. Lovely lad and that, but
to me,
he's just ferocious.
So powerful. He just looked so powerful, and he was just almost bullying. Despite the size, he was just bullying him.
Well, I think Isaac Lowe took he took a big so Nick's right hand missed, and then I think he took a left hook that buckled his knees in a second, and I think from that point you could almost see in his face, he was like, I've just been hit by something that a little bit different there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and then from that point, obviously, the head clash causes the cut. But I think if you look at the reaction of Team Fury at ringside, it was, I think it was Big Shane, Tyson's brother, a couple of Isaac Lowe's team. I think you can see on their face, they're thinking, he's in over his head here. And I think Nick, the most impressive thing for me is on that stage, he could have rushed for that knockout when he hurt him, but he just drawn it out. And I think he knew it was coming.
What I thought was really interesting as well in Nick's post-fight comments, he said Isaac was just complaining all the time to the referee. That to me says he's in there, and like you say, he's been hit with something that he didn't quite like, and he's thought, fucking hell, and his head's just not in the game. Yeah. He's thought, fucking hell.
To be honest, I think he took a bit too much stick, if I'm honest. Like, not stick as in like criticism. I think he hit a lot of clean shots, Isaac Lowe, like clean ones, and obviously the lad's got a great chin. But I think his corner might have pulled him out a little bit earlier, I think, because he doesn't have the power to equalise that fight. You know, he was I think he hit Nick Ball with one right hand and Nick didn't even move, just walked straight forward. So I think that tells you, you know, he was never going to knock Nick out, and then it was just an inevitability then.
Yeah, no, it was it was great to see. And I'm just a bit pissed off if Nick does ever listen to this, mate. I wish he just stayed under the radar a bit longer, because now next time it comes to bet on him, you ain't getting the value what you got last time.
That's right. That's why I said last week to you, before we even recorded this podcast, I sent you a screenshot and said, this is mental. Like, this is crazy. Because a lot of bookies, you know, they don't often get it wrong, but they do in boxing, because all they'll have done is seen his name and gone, he's never fought anyone. Yeah, evens, 4-1 for the knockout, without actually watching anything that he's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, to be honest, mate, if I'm totally honest, I think Frank Warren, if he can get older Nick now on a contract, I don't know what offers Nick's got on the table, but I think he'll come straight back to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Because that title, that WBC silver, gives him a world ranking now, which means he'll end up 6 or 7 in their rankings, you know, in the world rankings. So, you know, there could be some sort of like, you know, maybe someone a bit higher that they can pull to Liverpool. Yeah. Because I think the amount of casual sort of reaction that I've seen to Nick as well, I think if you put a Nick Ball headline show on the Echo in 6-12 weeks' time, I think it sells 8,000 quite easily.
No, mate, it's an exciting time, especially with McGrail's coming through, and now Nick, it's exciting. Hey,
mate, that gym is just ridiculous. Everton Red Triangle, they got Peter McGrail, Joel McGrail, Andrew Kane, who got a 10-second knockout the other week, Brad Strand, Nick Ball. Serious gym.
What did you think of the main event?
As one-sided as it gets, isn't it, really? I think, much like Isaac Lowe, I think Dillian White realised probably after a minute that everything that they say about Tyson Fury is right. He couldn't get close. He was throwing wild shots. I think that, I'm not saying obviously Dillian White got knocked out clean, flat out, despite what he said, but I think it was the belief knocked out of him more than the actual physical exhaustion of a fight. I think Fury took away any belief Dillian White had in about a minute.
It's very easy for me to sit here now and say this, and it's going to sound a little bit disrespectful, but I don't know, he didn't bring enough for me, Dillian, to even have a go. I know he was never going to win, but to me, it was like, at least, you know, proper throw it on his toes, you know, rough him up as best you can, you know. And I know there was a couple of little scuff, but I was thinking, fucking hell, mate, come on. I know it's easy. I've never been in it. I've never stood next to a 6'9" Tyson Fury, but I just thought, come on. He just didn't even. I'm sure he was obviously trying, but I don't know. It really disappointed me, that the fight.
No, it did to me, and I think he was very much like, I believe that he went into that ring believing, right, I'm going to throw these shots and I'm going to get on the inside. I don't know whether he took a few jabs or Fury just the rhythm he gets in. I think Dillian White then thought, I can't win this. I can't get close. And when them thoughts are in your head, it's impossible. Yeah. And I think, I think that's where it was at. But the finish is brilliant. Like the finish, the uppercut's a beautiful shot. Like, but
you know, that was the comments afterwards that he got pushed. I was like, come on, Dillian, man, you got fucking spot.
But I think even if you watch it back, his head doesn't hit the canvas.
No.
It's just that, and he's been knocked out by an uppercut now by Joshua Povetkin and fight Tyson Fury. So it's obviously a shot that he doesn't react too well to. But there's no shame in it. There's no shame in getting knocked out by Tyson Fury. Like,
No.
you know, like he's the best heavyweight. He's the best heavyweight in the world in most people's opinions, not mine, but most people's. There's no shame in that. Like you're at the top table.
Yeah, no, it was. But like you said, I mean, you said it beforehand as well. It wasn't the greatest card ever, was it? I mean,
No.
the Nick Ball and the Fury fight was the only two I was interested in, and I think I'll probably speak for most people with that as well.
Yeah, I think the co-main event was Darren Tetley versus Echo Essuman, and I think it might have been the worst co-main event. Frank's basically gone from Nick Ball lighting someone up and being like, "Wow, you want to roll into the main event then?" And then he put a 12-round snooze fest on. So yeah, I think Nick is Nick. I think for me, obviously, you're not going to steal the thunder from Tyson Fury, but I think the one winner from that card is Nick Ball, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Mate, what did you make of afterwards? I seen a great meme, and it was like, obviously Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou, come together afterwards and have a little chat. And there was like Muhammad Ali, a famous quote of Muhammad Ali saying, "I shook up the world," and then there's Tyson Fury saying to Francis, "How big's your cock?"
Oh, you know what the actual words were? "How big's your Corey?"
Francis is going, "Oh."
Yeah. But that, I mean, that the fact he even got in there is stupid. Like, but Tyson Fury just makes me laugh, mate. It was like, right, that's me. I've done everything. I don't care about money. I'm done. I'm the greatest heavyweight champion of all time. I'm retired. You'll never see me again. I'm just going to get my next opponent in the ring. Francis Ngannou. Make your mind up.
Mate, since you kind of said it the other week, I've picked up on it more and more, mate. It's like that thing, if you walk down a road now and I said to you, God, have you seen how many red cars there are on this road? You'd suddenly start noticing loads of red cars.
Yeah.
As soon as you said to me, Tyson Fury is a bit of a hypocrite in some of the things he says and does, I've got onto it more and more. And it's like, in his press conference afterwards, he says, I'm retired and I don't need money. I don't need the Rolls Royces and the cars and I've got them, but I don't need them. It's like, what I mean?
But he said, I think his words in the press conference was, I drive a 56 plate, whatever it might be. And then, honest to God, if you're listening to this, just go and Google Tyson Fury Ferrari. And the first picture is Tyson Fury on Puerto Banús, which is the port in Marbella, in a Ferrari.
Yeah, well, I can say, mate, to do fucking my usual name drop, mate. I got to train with him once up in a Total Fitness up in Cheshire. And he turns up in this Aston Martin, like this camo kind of Aston Martin Rolls Royce thing. I'm not into my cars, but it might have been a Rolls Royce wrapped in like a camo kind of thing. And I look at him, he's going, "I don't need money." You're fucking lying. You are actually lying to me. And I think he's done really well at taking on board this mental health kind of, advocate. And he knows that carries a lot of weight. And almost mental health, it's a little bit like the certain things in life which you just can't say nothing about. And I think mental health is a problem, and he knows that.
I think he's very clever. I mean, look, I've got no doubt he's helped a lot of people through his story, and like that, and that's fine. But I think actions speak louder than words to me, and I think when I look at Tyson Fury, I can just see holes in everything that he says. And if that's me being pessimistic, then fair play. But you have to say it as you see it, don't you? And that's how I see it. And taking nothing away from his ability, I think he's a fantastic heavyweight. I mean, there was a note, mind you, I got annoyed last week. Someone said he would have stopped Lennox Lewis, and that pissed me off big time. That pissed me off. Do you know on Twitter you write some things sometimes, and you see something and you think, I'm gonna fucking bite at that.
Yeah.
And I was so close to that, but I didn't. But I think people have also got this obsession of going, "Oh well, Tyson Fury's winning. He would have beat Lennox Lewis. He'd have beat Muhammad Ali. He'd have beat." It's like, just enjoy him for what he is in his era. Do you know what I mean? Is he one of the best heavyweights of this era? Yes, no problem. Don't have to constantly drag him back to all these old fighters and go, "Oh, we'd have smashed him as well. And he'd have done that." But Lennox Lewis would have punched holes in Tyson Fury.
Yeah, keeping it to this kind of generation. And the Francis fight, I mean, obviously you're big into the UFC. I mean, I listened to some interviews Francis has done, and he's obviously been quite openly, kind of spoke about the contract issues, the money issues within the UFC. He's obviously not happy. He took a big chance on not signing a new contract and kind of, fighting his deal on a lower pay cut just so he could kind of be in this position now where he's potentially calling out Tyson Fury. I mean, I seen this week that nothing's, finalised, and he is still keen to work with the UFC and other promoters. But I mean, that to me is, I'm not sure how old Francis is, but rather than kind of cementing, if he hasn't already, his legacy within the UFC, now wanting to jump ship and start mixing up with Tyson, it just all seems a bit, I don't know, a bit muddled at the moment.
Yeah, well, what it is, we just said about, 2 minutes ago, you got to say it as you see it. Francis Ngannou, who's got this tag now as the baddest man on the planet, the heavyweight champion in the UFC. You could argue he's better than the heavyweight champion in boxing because he's more well-rounded. But basically what he's doing is, what's the fight that can earn me the most money?
Yeah.
You look at the heavyweight rankings, if Tom Aspinall fights in July and becomes the number one contender, or he's already beat Cyril Gane, what's he going to get paid to defend against the heavyweight contenders in the UFC compared to what he's going to get paid to fight Tyson Fury? I would guess he's going to get north of 20 million to fight Tyson Fury. So he's going to get probably about 2 million to do the other thing. Do you know what I mean? I understand what he's doing, but it is what it is. Like, he's never going to beat Tyson Fury. They could fight. It won't go longer than 3 rounds, but they could do 150 rounds a week, and he wouldn't win a minute of one of them.
Yeah,
because he can't pick him up and put him on his ass and ground upon him.
Yeah.
It's like Tyson Fury going to. I know he's always said, I'll get in the octagon, but if Fury got in the octagon, he'd get absolutely obliterated.
Yeah,
because it's a different world. It's like a footballer going, oh well, I'm going to just go and have a go at rugby, because essentially it's the same, innit? We're running. I've got teammates. It just doesn't add up. I don't think the correlation between boxing and UFC or boxing and MMA is as easy as people think.
No, 100%. Any boxing this weekend? UFC this weekend to finish off?
Yeah, well, we've got big boxing this weekend. Obviously, Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, the first all-female fight to sell out Madison Square Garden Big Room. Just an unbelievable fight. Obviously, 2 legends. Serrano, 7-weight world champion. Katie Taylor, 3 or whatever. Probably one of the greatest Irish fighters of all time. 35 now, sort of looking for the
what time will that be on? Because obviously I'm in Ireland. I could find a decent boozer for that.
Oh yeah, you could. That'll be about 3 a.m. I think.
Fuck that. I'm staying up till 3 a.m.
I'm too old for that now.
I thought that would have been good if it was obviously in Dublin, mate. That would have been ideal last Saturday.
There'd be bars open at that time. I had no doubt about it. But yeah, she's fighting Amanda Serrano, probably the underdog for the first time in her career, Katie Taylor. Obviously crazy that they're selling out Madison Square Garden. Just mad. It's an amazing fight, an amazing moment for boxing. It's maybe the moment where women's boxing stops getting called women's boxing and just gets called boxing. Because they're earning, obviously, I think it's the first 7-figure payday for the pair of them.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Well, obviously, the promoter of Amanda Serrano is Jake Paul, so he's helped with it. Eddie's obviously got Katie Taylor, so it's the razzmatazz is there. Just an amazing fight, and then obviously you got Beefy fighting Jesse Vargas on the undercard. Seeing what a stage for Liam to fight on. I think he's the co-main event at Madison Square Garden. But obviously he'd like to be main event, but what'd you say, mate?
How do you fancy Liam's chances?
Really, I fancy them quite heavily, to be honest. I've seen his favourite this week, but Jesse Vargas has never been stopped, but I really fancy Liam to stop him, because Jesse Vargas has tittered the word, whatever it might be, with retirement for a while. He's been in, out, he's picked up other jobs in the media, he's done all this stuff, and he's been dropped a few times in his career but never stopped, and he's even been dropped down at 147. Obviously Liam's
you tapping your thing there?
No, sorry, was it Jimmy? Can you hear something?
I thought I could hear tapping on your thing. Sorry, go on.
No, I'm itching my elbow. Yeah, Liam's obviously a fully fledged 154. Don't know if Vargas really is. He's a great fighter, but I really think Liam might get to him down the stretch, maybe between 9 and 12 or something. Because as we were saying with Nick Paul, he's a nasty piece of work, and I think Beefy's very much the same. Once he's in them ropes, mate, there's no mercy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Like you say, great for Beefy to be out there in New York headlining that, mate. Unbelievable.
It's a great weekend because then obviously on the what's Vegas? Vegas, the West Coast.
Yeah.
East Coast, the West Coast. Yeah. So then you've got Shakur Stevenson, who many see as like the Floyd Mayweather of this generation, unifying against Oscar Valdez at 130. So, that's a crazy fight again. Both undefeated. Obviously, Valdez is part of the Canelo camp. Got busted for drugs, as everyone does in there. But then, but then obviously he's fighting Shakur Stevenson this weekend. So I think it might be a proper, as I said, a coming out party for Nick last weekend.
Yeah.
I think everyone knows Shakur Stevenson, but I think by Sunday we might be saying, yeah, he is the real deal. Do you know what I mean? And just think both fights, and then obviously Beefy is just a great weekend if you're a boxing fan. And just to finish, if you are a boxing fan, get on Patreon because we're going to have a big weekend of it.
Yeah, there you go. You've heard it there from the Postman. Away from boxing then, mate, if I can, I seem to be the one who always brings up tennis, but if I can bring up tennis, it just, mate, I love tennis anyway. We said about, potentially going to Wimbledon, but a few mad things are happening, like talking points where even if you're into tennis or not, it's interesting. So obviously Emma Raducanu came to everyone's kind of attention when she won the US Open, which was fantastic to see. I think she was, crazy rankings initially, and now she went into the top 10. I think, and I kind of said at the time, obviously amazing, but everyone was talking about her like she was the next fucking Serena Williams, and I was a bit like, fucking hell, she's done great to win it, but and she's literally just, I wouldn't say fell off the edge of a cliff, but she's not been great since, and she's just sacked her coach. She's been with him for 5 months.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It just hasn't gone well for her since that. And I don't know whether, I mentioned the other time about she got some flack in the media, whether she's taken too much kind of, she's attention's off the field, whether it's, sponsorship deals and this and that, trying to build a kind of social media profile, which I've got nothing against. And by the way, I don't want to come across like I'm knocking the girl. She's a young girl, and I hope to God she becomes the next number one. It'd be great to see. My only issue with it was I think she just got propelled there quicker than she was kind of needed to be. She wasn't quite there, but yeah, the attention around her, the pressure might have got too much, but she's just having a torrid time. She got beat again there. She took the world number one. I think hour 45 minutes to dispose of. I think it was 6-4, 6-4. Give it a good go, but got beat again, and it's just a bit gutted because obviously I wanted to see her do well, but she's just not doing it.
No, I think you've said it for a while, and it looks like you're right. I think when you're sacking a coach after 5 months, to me, that's probably suggesting things aren't all going well, sort of off the court, in terms of where she's at. You don't want to say mentally, but like what her thinking is. Is she completely happy with the game? Is she completely happy with where she's at in her life, despite the money, the fame, and the notoriety that she's got? I would suggest probably not. But as you say, that's the problem with this thing where it's such a sharp rise, but then once you take that rise, there's no way, you can't plateau. You have to go. You have to keep going,
Exactly.
and it takes an incredible athlete in person, incredibly mentally tough person to be able to do that. So, I think if I was here or anyone advising her, just let her get her life in order before you're trying to get on the court again. Just if you'd have to go and take like 8 months or something to put yourself away and find a coach that you click with, and just come back and win like a little tournament somewhere and just sort of rebuild.
Yeah. No, I mean, and she's ranked 11 in the world now, and she has been known to change coaches quite a lot in her junior days. So maybe this is what she does, but I hope it comes good for her because she's certainly at the moment not living up to the kind of, I want to try and use that word again, meteoric rise that
meteoric rise
that she was predicted for. The other thing, mate, which is again, it's fucking hard not to speak about it, but the whole thing with Russia, Ukraine, basically no Russian or Belarus athletes can now compete at Wimbledon, which is fucked. Do you know what I mean? And Wimbledon have come out and they've said, the chairman's come out and he's stressed like the role of the UK government and all the England clubs and backed the decision to ban them. And listen, obviously we all know why they're getting banned, but I just can't help thinking, it's not their fault. You know what I mean? These are tennis players who, a lot of them probably haven't even been back to Russia in years, and now they're getting punished because there's a fucking psychopath Putin in charge, and now they can't. And you know what? People will say, they're all multi-millionaires anyway, and it's, some of these tennis players need to be playing regularly at these big tournaments to live. And now the US Open champion is Danny Medvedev. Now he can't play. How do you work that out? It's fucked.
It's like you're saying though, if they want to do that, they want to put sanctions in place for political decisions that get made, then there's going to be absolutely no British athletes anyway. So just get rid of it all. Do you know what I mean? Because and I understand, British politicians haven't yet made crazy decisions like the Russian fella, but where do you stop? What's a bad decision? Do you know what I mean? What's a decision that gets sanctioned? Because we've done just as bad as many other countries, and I think it's so, if you have to pay the price for the leader of your country and that you probably never met him, you probably don't agree with anything he does.
Yeah.
Like you nailed it last time when you said the integrity of the US Open had been obliterated, and I think the integrity of Wimbledon now, especially if it's getting backed by the organisers of Wimbledon, the integrity's gone now anyway, because I'm not saying they might win the tournament, but it's not a level playing field.
You've got people there who are, US Open champions, Australian Open champions, who will now miss it. So I think if I pronounce the name right, Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova and Victoria Azarenka, 2-time Australian Open champions, are going to miss out. How can it be a proper tournament when you've got champions there who aren't playing?
Exactly, it's pathetic. But it's this merry-go-round, isn't it? Because then obviously I've seen that they've said, oh, no, you don't have to have a COVID vaccine to play, and then this gets celebrated. It's like, yes, like the free world, and then it's like, but actually, if you've had a conversation with that person, then you can't play.
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay, then. So you've basically just swapped one sanction for the other.
So if you just look at tennis for a moment, right? Djokovic was world number one, crazy winning streak, on the brink of, breaking the record for being the best tennis player of all time. Wasn't allowed to play in Australia because he never had the COVID vaccine. 6 months on, there's now people who want to play in Wimbledon, the British Open, who now can't play because of the country they're from. How the integrity of sport can even be defended in tennis, it's a fucking joke. It's an absolute joke. And
the sport's becoming a joke, isn't it?
But it's
like no other sport, like.
Pissed me off so much that Djokovic getting fucked over in Australia, and now these Russian athletes getting fucked over in Wimbledon. It's becoming not about how good you are, how much you've trained in your life. It's political decisions getting in the way of sport, and it's I really do feel for the Russian athletes in this case, and I'm just glad a little bit of sense has come through, and now they are allowing unvaccinated players to play, because
it's that thing, isn't it? Where does it end? Like, where do you stop pulling these crazy rules?
Imagine in a few years we have a leader who's a vegan, and he says, right, you know what? No athletes are going to play unless they're vegan.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I'm going a bit extreme there, but
no, but it can happen if it carries on this trajectory.
Did you know actually? The chairman of Forest Green is he's a big eco guy. He's a vegan, and when I went and done a talk for Forest Green, he the manager at the time, he's not the manager no more, told me that he wants them all eating vegan food, if they're going to play for Forest Green. And they kind of told the line a bit with it, and then when he went there, it was like, fuck off, whatever. But it just shows you how our leader can kind of then try and put these rules in place. Now that's only a football team, but what we've got now is a government doing that. Do you know what I mean? That's fucking wrong. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy, because, as I say, once you allow these people, well, you pretty much have no control of it. None of us do. But once you allow them to make decisions like this, they don't just make this decision and then stop. Do you know what I mean? They'll make another one, and then eventually it'll be right. You can't play unless you wear these shoes because this company's paid us X amount. You know what I mean? It's like it's stupid, and wherever they go with it, the integrity of the sport of tennis is just being laughed at.
Yeah, it has definitely the last 18 months. Mate, on to F1. Mate, you and your kid, you might be down. How much did you bet your Jay?
£100 that Mercedes wouldn't win a race. So he said they wouldn't. I said they would. But
do
you know what though? George Russell is performing okay. Lewis Hamilton just can't seem to get a tune out the car. I'm not saying obviously there's mad issues with the car. I understand that, but like George Russell's still, towards the top end of the field, and like Lewis Hamilton got lapped by Max Verstappen. Lapped.
I think that would have been that's like a. I mean, listen, it's not like the end of the world, but that must have hurt him now.
Oh, I know you play it off, but it's like we've said it loads on this podcast. When you turn that light off in the night and you reflect on your day, there's no way you're not thinking Max has just slapped me.
No, I know. At the
I
minute,
just don't. It's like
Ferrari's.
I said to you though. Yeah, it's like I said to you. I don't know whether he was fully committed to this year anyway. Lewis Hamilton mentally.
Well, you did.
I
You
don't.
nailed it. You said like you don't believe that he you don't believe that he believes that they've got what it takes. Mercedes have got what
Even
it takes. And, you know
no, he
what?
was saying last year. Yeah, he was saying last year about the car, and he always alluded to, oh, next year when this changes, we might be a bit weaker. And obviously, he knew something that
Yeah.
the public didn't know, but I think he's crazily underperforming as well.
Mm. Yeah, and you don't know how much of that at the end of this last season. The craziness of how it all ended. You don't know how much of a mental impact that's had on him.
No, it's
You
crazy because it's the first sort of thing in 6-7 years where, like, not only did someone get close to him, they went past him.
Yeah.
When, you can look at the politics of what happened, and I probably agree with him that he was hard done by, but the fact remains somebody went past him, and it's hard to come back from. But yeah, it's another exciting season, and as you say, Ferrari are flying. My boys McLaren got on a podium last weekend, so obviously on to Miami in a week's time. But yeah, I think it's outside of Lewis, the battle between Max, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, George Russell, Sergio Perez. It's still very exciting up the top end.
Oh yeah. No, it's brilliant. I think. How do you say his name? Is it Leclerc? Is it?
I think Leclerc. Yeah, I've just settled on Leclerc and just left not budging.
Yeah, Leclerc. He's out there at the weight 86 at the minute. Verstappen on 59. Like you say, Hamilton back on 28. But yeah, I think you know what, mate. It will start getting exciting as I don't know how they're going to change it, but I can't see Lewis and Mercedes letting too big of a gap go. I'm sure there'll be some sort of revival coming.
Yeah, that's my theory. That I don't think they'll win a championship, but I think that at some point in the season there's got to be some sort of reaction. There's got to be a couple of races where they go close, or you know what I mean. Just you can't go from there to like down there. There's always a middle ground, and that's me.
Yeah.
I think if George was floating around where Lewis is, then I'd probably be like, yeah, but he's getting something out the car. He's not winning races, but he's getting something out of it.
Yeah. And it's Miami this weekend, isn't it? I know both
next weekend,
F1,
yeah.
Next weekend, yeah. Both F1 race directors have tested positive as well.
Yeah, bad, isn't it?
But whether they'll be out there or not, I don't know. But,
yeah, next weekend should be interesting, that in Miami, because obviously it's always like a bit of a yardstick in the season. So yeah, it'd be good to see where everyone's at. But yeah, I think I can't get enough of it. I'm watching the whole, because I'm loving the old. I know they're bringing the sprints into, they're trying to bring them in more, but they're finding ways to make the sport more exciting. And I think they're getting fans.
Isn't it? People saying that it's and stuff, and it's too much and stuff.
But it's all about. It's like I speak about it in boxing all the time, and hardcore fans have this phrase of casual fan, as if it's derogatory. Sport does not survive without the casual fan. Your favourite sport, if it doesn't have a casual fan, nobody cares. You can love it, but there's nothing in it. And I think that F1 have said, they've seen the impact of the Netflix series and stuff, and they've gone, how do we get people into F1 who, might just like the narrative? This is how we do it, bang. And I'm all for it, mate. I think any way that you can make a sport more enticing for the casual fan, then you're winning.
I mean, you've summed me up with F1, mate, even to the point of, UFC done it for me as well with McGregor and the amount of coverage and quality content UFC put out. That was me. I was a casual fan. I'm a bit more invested now, but the same way UFC done it for me a few years back, F1 are doing it now. And like you say, you need those casual fans. And
mate, if every sport only had hardcore fans at the events, sort of watching on TV, engaging on social media, watching podcasts and stuff like that, numbers would be dire.
Yeah.
Like, no, you wouldn't have a TV deal because you wouldn't be able to bring the numbers in to justify the money you're getting. Nobody would be at your events, so you wouldn't have any events. Your social media channels would be dead. So you have to appreciate why they're doing it for casual fans, and I think it's the way to go.
Mate, should we move on to the old what I am passionate about, football?
Soccer.
Soccer.
Where do we start?
We talk the positives of the Reds or the negatives of the Blues. Where do you want to go? You were obviously on Sani Brigade last weekend. Jordan texted me saying, "Lad, I've got a ticket for the match." Where was he? Couldn't eat prawn sarnies.
I was. Look, I'm not even asking you for the hospitality tickets anymore. I'm just
That's what I
getting them.
mean. Like I started the pod, lad. If there was no way, lad, a year ago you were going on Twitter, anyone got a ticket. Now you're on Twitter getting tickets, lad. You're lying.
If anyone's got tickets, slide into the DMs.
You are welcome, lad.
But do you know what, mate?
Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed the game. Hated the first half. Sort of understood why Everton approached the game they did, but didn't massively agree with it, obviously. But I think everything around the game I've hated. Like the rivalry, the songs.
That's why I want them to go down, mate.
No. I know what you're saying, but I am also very aware that we have a very, very small minority of absolute rodents who follow our club as well. And
100%.
I think it's just, I don't know how this rivalry between Liverpool and Everton has come down to like being so grim. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm all for, I put on Twitter the other week, I want Everton to stay up, but I hope the derby's 15-0 at half time. Like, sport and rivalry, we need. You want it. I want to sit with my Everton fan mates and go, lad, use a crap. Like we're going to batter you, this, you, that. Like, how the hell have you signed him and that? But it's now becoming this, like, toxic, weird, like,
I think that's down
how
to
hateful can you be?
I think that's down to just a gulf. And there's, you know what? I think if you want to break it down even more, and I might be talking out of turn here, but I say this half jokingly as well, but it's a serious thing, which I think, breeds a lot of this toxic kind of rivalry. Is that, me and my fans, me and my mates who are fans of Liverpool, I've had some unbelievable times, trips away, trips abroad, great memories. Everton haven't had that. And I think at some point there maybe is a little bit of jealousy and bitterness that, listen, we're all Scousers, we're all from the same city, yet there are a certain bunch of Scousers who are going to Barcelona, Italy, Portugal, going to all these places, watching their team, having just a boss time with the mates. And then there's the other half who, seemingly pissed off a lot of the time. I might be wrong in that, kind of, analysis of it, like, but I think that over a number of years has just bred this bitterness of, they've got nothing to shout about, and it's as much as I say I want them to go down, I would equally though love it if they were both like that at the top.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's not like that, and it's just this kind of pointless rivalry, which at the moment in the last few years hasn't really done much, and it's a bit like.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that there is an element to jealousy, 100%. I think my opinion that I want Everton to stay up has been bred from the fact that I'm jealous of the stories older generations tell me about playing Everton in finals and going for leagues against Everton and stuff like that. I think I'd love nothing.
That would not.
No,
happen.
I know it wouldn't happen now, but it's like if, for example, the semi-final that we're in now, I'd love Everton to be the other side of it. Like, I'd love that. I think it would be brilliant. But I think what disappoints me the most is the videos and that you see from both sides. It's not kids.
No.
It's 40, 50, 30, 40, 50-year-old men who could be dads, granddads, uncles, stepdads, whatever it may be. And they're at games, doing things with the fingers. And I seen one, like, fella in the park saying, being racist and then saying, you better get off this park, mate, before we do you in. Like,
I had Rob, who's been on the podcast. He said he was walking through the park. I think he was walking through the park, and this one was a young kid, called him a murderer, and it's like a kid of like 8, 9 calling him a murderer.
But that's a bred thing. It's like Liverpool fans are this, and as I said, and I will reiterate, we have them as well. But this disappoints me so much. I think.
So you're saying, it disappoints you so much, you want them to go down. I hear you, mate. That's sound right. Let's move on.
Do you know what? There was a part of me. There was a part of me after Saturday when I read some of the stuff that thought, fuck Liverpool, I hope we don't win nothing, and fuck Everton, I hope they go down. When I seen some of the things on Twitter, but then obviously I've regrouped myself and said, oh, we do the quadruple. Hope Everton go down. But like, I was just, the game was secondary to me, mate. I thought it was horrible, but moving on to.
Do you know what? You know what I've found myself doing last night. So obviously last night Liverpool beat Villarreal 2-0, and it was the same situation as the derby. It was 0-0 at half time. What I feel a bit shit for myself for feeling it. Liverpool are that good now. If we are not 1-2-0 up after half an hour, I'm like, what's going on here?
Bad
Like,
performance.
and that's the levels they've put in over these past couple of years, especially this season. It's the job he's done, Klopp. I'm sitting there now, and if after 20 minutes, we've not scored, I'm thinking, why are we not winning yet? And it's mad.
I totally agree, but I thought last night there's been a bit of criticism. I've seen Jamie O'Hara, whose opinion I really hold very highly, saying what could Villarreal, like Villarreal were pathetic, Villarreal were this. I thought for the first half they'd done exactly what I would do if I went to Anfield. Try and be organised and try and stay in the game.
Yeah.
Like they only lost the first goal is a free goal. What can you do about that? Henderson's gone to cross it. It's an own goal. You can't factor that in. I thought Villarreal did okay. But I don't know why. There's this obsession with the media where like people should come to Anfield and go toe to toe with Liverpool. Like you're gonna get obliterated.
You've seen that, mate. I was at the point where even when it went 2-0, I would have still, which they kind of did, in a way, stayed compact. And I would have rather have just took a 2-0 and not went for it than try and go for it and it ends up 5 or 6, So
mate, 2-0 at their place, it's a very tough ask.
Yeah.
But the game's not over, is it?
No.
You've seen it from...
If they'd went 2-0 down, which they did, and then thought, fuck, we need to go and start winning, they're trying to get back in this game, it could have easily went 5 or 6 then.
Yeah.
No, I think they've done all right to come away 2-0.
I do, and I think, you've seen if Klopp didn't do the old punch in the air thing, the players, no one... You could see on their face, they were like, right, the game's still on. Because if we go to Villarreal, for example, and say we don't play very well against Newcastle on the weekend, and like, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but say we picked up an injury or two, and then we get to Villarreal, they're going to be like, right, if we score, this is game on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a dead tie.
I don't know if you know this, but Van Dijk got booked. If he gets booked in the next one, does that mean he misses the final?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know how many yellow cards it works out, but if that's
I think it resets at some point, doesn't it?
I would not be playing him in the second leg if that was the case. I don't know whether it is or not.
Said this last night. I was watching a match. They're just being booked in like 2 of his last 3 games. He's like 9-1 usually for the card because he never gets booked, does he? But he's just obviously at this point where he's sort of taking a couple of cynical ones. But yeah, I don't think that tie's over by any stretch of the imagination. And I think the other tie at the other side is anything but over.
Yeah, no, it was a great game, wasn't it, for the neutral to watch the Real Madrid City, and I think Real Madrid will go through. I think that Bernabeu, it's a little bit not like it's not Anfield, obviously, but it has got that kind of mythical, magical, mad things happen there. And I think if City think that the tie's over, they're going to be in for a big shock as well. I think, and I hope Madrid can win, because if Liverpool do get through, I'd rather face Madrid than City. I couldn't bear facing City in the final.
I'm the other way. I want Liverpool City final, but
why?
Like, well, I imagine it'd be the biggest final in recent history.
Nah.
But you know what? You only don't want it because of what could happen if we lose, and Liverpool wouldn't have got to this stage under Klopp if we were scared of what happened if we lose, lad.
I'm not. It's a little bit of that. Yeah, I don't want to get beat by City. I don't want them to win the first European Cup. But also, Real Madrid and Liverpool, 2 of the biggest teams in Europe. I mean, that's a sexy, beautiful football final. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 2 of the absolute European heavyweights. City with the new money and all that. Nah, get me old school. That beautiful red against the white. Boom, in Paris. Wow, that'd be.
Joe, the only thing for me though is I would love, like, if we got City to the final and beat them, and we snatched away the ability for them to buy the Champions League from Pep, especially. I'm all for that. I would love that, and I'd take the risk because I think we beat them in a one-off game. But the other theory I've got is I'm worried about Real Madrid because pretty much like it's been for us sometimes. I think your name sometimes is on the trophy, and they've been behind in games, and it's Benzema's first big season where he's the main man. Not first one, but the one he's having the breakout where he's pulling them through games, and there's a thing in my head is it set up for him to have his big moment? You know what I mean, in terms of lifting the Champions League is the main man.
I mean, Villarreal, I've got that type of season that we had in 2005. Do you know what I mean? Villarreal have one of those great seasons. I mean, I know what you mean. It is on there, but either way, mate, it's. I actually tweeted about this yesterday, mate. As excited as I am about the football, it's just dawned on me that it's coming to an end in like a month.
Over, isn't it?
In like a month, 4 to 5 weeks, it's got to be done. And
what's successful Liverpool, do you reckon?
You know what, mate? You know, listen. We could end this season now with just the League Cup, like that. That could be us, and as it'll be viewed as not successful. But you know, me being a bit cheesy as a fan, it's been unbelievable. You know, to be able to potentially play in every game, you know, and to just watch this team every week, it's been unreal. Obviously, you know, that wouldn't be a success. We need to win a couple more trophies, but I've loved it, mate. I've loved every minute of it, watching this team, and I just hope we can just grab a couple more trophies along the way. Well, 3 more if I'm being greedy, but at least 2.
It was just because I was having this conversation with Adam Rowe, the guy. He's a comedian, runs a brilliant podcast, and I called Have a Word. We were talking about whether you would want to win the Premier League or the Champions League, and I'm very much in that. I would sacrifice the Premier League every day of the week to win the Champions League. Like I understand the theory that Liverpool missed out on the big celebration, and I'm all for it. But I think the city deserves it, the fan base deserves it, but the Champions League's the one for me.
I would want to win the Champions League if it was against City, but if we were playing against Real Madrid, I'd lose the Champions League to win the Premier League. I'd only want to win the Champions League if it meant City not winning it.
Are you not of the opinion that the Champions League's a bigger trophy than the Prem, though?
Yeah. But
like if we finish the season with the League Cup and the Champions League, I'd take that over the League Cup and the Prem under every day of the week.
I would if it meant that, you know, my thing is, I want to win the league. I've seen us win the Champions League. I want to be there when we win the league. That's for me personally. However, I'd sacrifice that to win the Champions League if it meant City didn't win it. If Real Madrid won the Champions League, then I'd want to win the Prem. You know, if you could say, give the Champions League to Real Madrid, but you win the Prem,
Imagine if we get City in the Champions League final and the league goes down to the last day, and then on the back of that, you play the Champions League final.
It's going to be mad.
Heavy stuff.
Mate, let's
just let me know when you get me ticket for the Champions League final. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, lad. Okay, no.
You've got loads of contacts. Just say me and my mate. Can't wait to go.
Yeah, enjoying the fucking queue. I got asked the other day to get FA Cup final tickets. Someone texted me. It was someone texted me, right? Bearing in mind, I've not even got a ticket for the final yet. Someone texts me and goes, "Iran, mate. I know you've got a few contacts at the club. If you could get us 4 tickets for the final, that'd be great." 4 tickets, not even 1. 4.
Why are you telling everyone about me text, lad?
Yeah, I know. I've not even got one myself. Anyone's listening wants to get me one, fucking sort me first. But
box me off as well.
People are funny, man. But
But whether you're at the game or you're not, it's an incredibly exciting time to be in it. To be what did you think just before we go? Because I don't think we can skip over it without talking about it. What do you think about the pen, Gordon? Was it a pen or not?
Yeah, it was a pen. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think the Blues, mate. If we can touch on them, I think they played great. I think they done really well. They were really unlucky with a penalty. I think Gordon's dive in the first half. That's what's made them not get the penalty. I think it's kind of set a precedent within the game. I know he's done it a few times now in a few other games. I think that's the only reason he don't get the pen. And I think it was definitely a penalty. If they scored at the back in the game, who knows what would have happened. But I think I think Everton now, it's one of those. What I feel for them is they played really well against City. They played really well against Liverpool, and they got knocked out the game. Now, is that going to be a constant now? Because they've got Chelsea at the weekend. If they don't win there again, and Burnley go and win, that's them 4 points adrift. It's like they're playing well in games, not getting the rub of the green, and the games are running out. And I'm just a bit like, how long can this go on? It's going to become ominous at some point that they are going to go down, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think the one saving grace they've probably got is that I think Leeds have been dragged back in.
Yeah, I
with
agree.
them playing City at the weekend as well. But Burnley have put a couple of results together. They've shown a reaction which I didn't think they had in them. Happy to admit I was wrong on that. Everton haven't yet. As you rightly say, they've played well in games, but they haven't put a back-to-back sort of couple of wins together to push themselves out of it. And sometimes you don't always get what you deserve in games, but you need to, whether it's now or the next game, they need to start putting wins on the board, not good performances.
And the thing is about life, right? When luck's on your side, mate. I've done it, and everything I've touched just turns to gold, and I'm like, fucking hell, this is great. However, I've been in a situation in life when everything's going to shit, and everything I touch goes to shit as well. And that's the thing about life. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you're losing, and you have these streaks of luck, of whatever you want to call it. Liverpool at the moment, everything they touch turns to gold. Everything Everton touch turns to rat shit. And this could be a weekend where Leeds win, helps Liverpool out and fucks Everton. And that's the type of kind of run of form both Liverpool and Everton are in. It wouldn't surprise me if I don't think this will happen, but it wouldn't be the greatest shock in the world if Leeds can get a draw or even 3 points against City. And it fucks Everton and benefits Liverpool. That's just the way the world seems to be turning at the moment, unfortunately for
Yeah.
Everton.
Do you know what I think might happen this weekend? And it'll be frustrating. I could see a world where Newcastle get a draw against us and Leeds get a draw against City. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like one of them frustrating things. But I think us playing last night, strongest team, and then going to the 12:30 kickoff. It's a tough that with Newcastle in decent form.
It is tough, mate, but I would rather play Newcastle at 12:30 on a Saturday than I would at 5:30 on a Saturday, because
Yeah,
I know
you psychologically.
I know myself going the game, mate. It's hard to get up for a game at 12:30. You might have been out on the Friday night maybe, and you're getting there, and you're just a bit. The atmosphere is always a bit flat, etc. And I think the Geordies are a bit similar, aren't they, to Scousers? I think they created an atmosphere up there. I think it would have been a lot more of a not toxic, but a lot tougher atmosphere to play in at 5:30 on a Saturday night when everyone's had a few pints and really up for it, and maybe they needed the points a bit more. Now they're at a point where I think they've won the last 5 on the bounce at St James's. They're well out of the drop zone, and
Yeah.
it's a 12:30 kickoff. I think that all actually bodes in Liverpool's favour, if I'm being honest.
No, I think you're probably right, mate. I think I'm a little bit nervous about the game, but it's only the fact that we're getting to the point where you can't really make any mistakes. So yeah, I think I will probably prioritise Villarreal, but I think even if we're a bit weaker on Saturday, we should be able to get the job done. But yeah, hopefully Everton, it doesn't get any easier. But sort of let's see where they're at next week. But I
Yeah.
think a week's a long time in footy. Let's see how the conversation's like next week.
But just a couple of things away from Liverpool and Everton, mate. I've seen obviously United have announced Ten Hag coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this mad story of Ragnick has kind of already made like a little dossier of basically players who are shite and haven't got the right attitude.
Fucking hell, it must be a long dossier.
He's come out and said I haven't, but whether he stays on as director or not, surely Ten Hag's going to be saying to him, right, look, who do I need to keep an eye on, and if they are going to have that conversation, like you say, I think there'll be a lot of players who are who might be getting shipped out. I also seen that they've got a sporting director come in who's the kind of guy to bring Mane and Son to the Prem, and he
Really,
was when he was at, I think it was Nice, or he had a job in France, and he basically bombed out like 40 players out of 80 or something when he first come in. So I think that's what United, I mean, not that I want United to improve, but I think if they are going to improve, they do need some sort of, ruthless character to come in and just bomb half the squad, because half of them aren't worth, half of what they're getting paid.
No, and I think that's the problem. If you go through if he sits down and goes through his squad and he goes, right, they're like Maguire gone, Shaw gone, Pogba gone, who's going to take them?
I know.
Because if you go to the table now and you're taking any of them players, the first thing you're saying is, look, you've had a rough couple of years. We think you could probably come into our squad and make it better, but you're on 190 grand a week. You're now on 110.
Yeah.
And then players are not going to 110 grand a week, obviously, and great little wage still, but they're not going to go, oh yeah, okay, I want to revive my career, because they haven't got that character in the squad. That's why they're in the position they're in.
No. And the money that United will then be generating from these players, they're not going to be able to buy any players because everyone's going to see Man United coming, and then the prices are going to go through the roof anyway because United are desperate.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a really tough job for him to come in and do. It's going to be interesting.
I mean, like, even if you're like, and this is serious now, do you know if you're Everton rebuilding next year, and you know some they stay in the Prem, for example, and they get rid of some players, and then there's some United players who are on the transfer list.
Yeah.
Who would you take, even at that level where you did disbanded your squad yourself and you need to rebuild? There's not a player on there you go, maybe Rashford, because you think, can I get something out of him? Maybe.
Well, that's the thing, mate. You've nailed it. You're not kind of looking at that United team and buying players on technical ability because you know that at United they are obviously good players in the day. You're looking more at attitudes, and if you're in a rebuilding process, it's like, what one of those players do you want standing next to you when you're having those frustrating days where you are rebuilding? And like you say, I wouldn't trust anyone.
Well, I had a conversation last night about Luis Diaz because I was saying he could be the best of the lot that we've got or that we've brought through. He's ridiculous, and someone rightly made the point and said, you know what, he's got a good temperament as well. Like, you don't see him, you know, sometimes them South Americans, they can kick out or you know, they can have a little bit of a crazy side like Suarez or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, but I think nowadays at the top level, you won't get signed by the likes of Klopp and Pep and these people if you've got that in your game, because the margins are so small now that you can't afford to have a great player who might get sent off and you lose him, because then that could lead to obviously losing a game. I think fine details are so much bigger in transfers and stuff nowadays than they've ever been.
Yeah. Talking about transfers, mate, as well, the big loss for Chelsea, Rudiger, is looks like he's bailing on a free that over to Madrid. It's just come out and said, look, everyone's gutted. He's leaving. I mean, that's the other thing, mate. Without harping too much on about the Salah thing, you know, it's getting to the point now where Mo, you kind of need to be like, get the season done, and then he needs to, you know, sign, because God, losing him on a free like Chelsea are with Rudiger. I really rate Rudiger, and you know, if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be absolutely wounded that not only is he going, but you're not getting no money for him as well.
No, I think obviously financially Chelsea couldn't live with what he wanted, which is, you know, the sport these days. But yeah, I think, you know, when we come into the Mo Salah thing, and I've seen rumours today that we've opened up contract talks with Klopp.
Seeing that, mate.
But everything I've read about Mo Salah is what he said. It's not just about football. It's not just about football. It's not like, you know, I mean, sorry, it's not just about money. It's not just about money. And then I'm thinking in my mind, as he said, I'm not signing unless Klopp's here for a bit longer. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously that's forced Liverpool to go to the table with Klopp and say, please, please stay.
You know what, mate? That is a really interesting point. I've never thought about that. Yeah, I always thought when he said that, it might have been about the captaincy or something like that, maybe. But you know what? That's a great point, because I think any players who are coming to Liverpool or want to extend their contract, I think that's going to be one of the top priorities. Look, how long's Klopp going to be here for? You know, because he's a manager where he's proven time and time again to be in amongst, you know, the trophies at the end of the season, but also on a personal level, he's improving players. Yeah. And hopefully you're right, mate. Hopefully you're right. I think though, like any great man, like you know yourself, George, there's a great woman behind them, and I think, as stupid as this argument's going to be, whether Klopp will stay or not will come down to his missus.
I agree.
His missus will either go, you know what, Liverpool is my home, I love it here, go on, let's do another few years. Or she'll go, Jurgen, I promised you 7, we've done 7, come on, stick to your end of the bargain, let's go.
I think it's so true, because if you put yourself in them positions and you have to make a big life decision, you have to go home and discuss it, obviously with your family, your wife or whatever, your husband. But it's like, I think he will be. I think deep down, Klopp knows that he could keep going with Liverpool, and he's probably, you know, he's had conversations with the likes of Pep Linders and stuff. Look, this is where we'll take it. This is how we'll play in 2-3 years, whatever. But I think if he was to commit to Liverpool, then his home life would be affected by it. I don't think Klopp as a man would risk that. You can just tell the way he handles himself. So I think you're spot on. I think it'll be dependent on his family rather than Klopp.
So to finish off on that, then, mate, and to finish this week's show, you know, one thing which is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel if Klopp doesn't stay is, you know, you look at Shankly. You know, people are, you know, quite rightly, and I think Klopp has overtook Shankly, me personally, but, you know, you look at what Shankly did for the club. When Shankly did leave, who took over? Paisley. and he just come in and just said, right, carry on, lads, what we're doing. It'd be nice to think that if Klopp does leave, that, you know, Pep Linders comes in and he just goes, look, lads, nothing's changing, same old, let's keep going. And, you know, you look at history, Paisley actually won more than Shankly. So, listen, that's not me saying I want Klopp to go and Linders to take over, but I think if that day does come, I'd definitely be recruiting from within rather than going and getting someone.
100%. But you can see that Linders would have the respect of each player and stuff too, because Klopp is very vocal about his impact on. You know, I've seen him say many times, "I'm a good manager surrounded by brilliant people," and it's probably you know, he says that probably to the players too. And I think Linders is getting more and more like at the forefront of everything.
Responsibility along the years as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, let's just hope Klopp does stay. You know, I'd love to if he could sign to like 2028 or something like that. Just give us another 8 years.
Do me.
Yeah, because if he can stay to then and we can just keep going, I'll retire from footy. I'll have seen a lot. You know what I mean? Everyone else can have their go.
Yeah. It's been quite Liverpool Everton heavy the footy chat, but I mean, hopefully people aren't offended by that. It's just that point of the season now where obviously Everton and Liverpool are in very different positions, but it's quite important for them both. So yeah, mate, I've enjoyed this, mate. Hopefully as well, people listening to it, they've enjoyed, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes. It's not been too different from when we're in the studio. Like I said, apologies, but Punchestown awaits for me.
We'll be back next week though. Back in the studio.
Yeah, back in the studio next week. And yeah, nice one, George.
Nice one, lad. Have a good day.
Yeah, nice one, everyone. And I'll don't forget, all our tips will be on Patreon and our normal chats as well. What did we talk about on Patreon this week?
Bad.
Your bats, your good luck.
We had the house coat and dressing gown
debate. Yeah, we had good luck with grey hair. Whether you can be a good looking woman with grey hair or not.
Anti-spars. A potential boxing fight between me and you.
Yeah. It was a good laugh.
We talked about emigrating. Oh God, we talked about everything. But
it's all on Patreon now, along with 20 other episodes. So if you do want to support us, get your extra episodes and your tips off me and George. Sign up now, and if not, we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.